Well, welcome everybody. Today we have Sharna back again. She actually was here a couple of weeks ago and just spoke to us about her experience of pregnancy loss. And if you haven't checked out her story, you go to Your Story Matters, you'll be able to actually hear her journey of all of what she endured when it came to pregnancy loss and how she was able to find some healing and take that pain and turn it into a purpose. Today, she is here to be as a spotlight coach, and she's going to be sharing some information to us about a 30-day program that she has about emotional empowerment after pregnancy loss. Now, we all know that if we have experienced this form of loss, that it truly can paralyze us and make us numb to a lot of other things in our life. And so today, Sharna is going to really just enlighten us and give us some ideas of how we can, some little carrot nuggets, and then highlight her program, her 30-day program, which is just an introductory program to be able to work with her deeper, depending on what level of paralyzation you're sitting at. And I say that because I know that it can be extremely paralyzing because I am one of those statistics that have also endured pregnancy loss, and it truly can be paralyzing, especially when you run and try to hide from it, which a lot of us try to do, or society just tells us like, just move on, just keep running, don't stop, don't breathe, don't nothing, it's just whatever, just you'll get another blood. They always try to say something to try to comfort us, but it never helps. So we went into that the last time Sharna came to visit us. And so if you want to know more about all of that, definitely go and check out her other talk. She has got all kinds of knowledge in her. So today I'm going to stop jibber jabbering. I'm going to give the floor to Sharna to be able to highlight her program and just share with us how we truly can empower our emotions after such a loss.
Thank you. Oh my gosh, so much came to me even just when you were talking. There is just literally so much that I have learned like over my experience of healing. And it's not the one thing that we focus on. There's so many different facets to our healing, and and that's the thing, like society is like, just keep yourself busy or distract yourself, or it's okay, like you should be further along, or you're not meant to be grieving. Like they've always got those opinions, and that's the thing, that we do tend to listen to them, and we tend to keep ourselves distracted and ignore our experience because it's too painful, and because we have these beliefs about ourselves that we are like, well, and shame. I've failed. I don't want to sort of acknowledge that part of me. I want to ignore that part of me, maybe ignore that experience, and keep myself busy somewhere else. But that it really doesn't, unfortunately, it doesn't work that way. Our bodies aren't designed that way. On a cellular level, your body remembers the trauma. And as much as you try and think that you're okay and think that you've acknowledged things, your body will always show you areas where potentially you still have healing, or potentially you still have the growth. And I went through all of that. I experienced all of that myself. I went through all of the motions, and I've designed the program with the support and the tools that I needed to go through that. And how I've designed it is to really give yourself your power back after pregnancy loss, because it's something that you feel like your power has been taken away. Everything that you had ever believed in is taken away, and the future that you wanted has been taken away. So the way that I've designed the programs is to really empower yourself and to redefine what your loss means to you, and to take your power back. So everything that we go through in the programs are ways that you can do that, are ways that you can really embrace your story and face your day-to-day life with confidence, with acknowledging your loss, and really just being able to have that inner trust in yourself and the confidence in yourself that, you know what, whatever is thrown at you, you have the tools to move through that. You have the tools to cope. And a big thing with the program is taking responsibility and responding and not reacting to what's happening. Because when you react, you give your power away again. When you respond and you take the time to actually acknowledge what's going on inside of you, you respond from a place of power. And that is essentially where I want women to be after their pregnancy loss, is standing in that place of power within themselves. Right. And knowing that they just have that deep inner knowing that whatever happens, you know, they've got it, they can handle it. And you know, life is always going to give you challenges, so you can use the tools on multiple different levels and however that presents in your life. So it's really just learning, again, it's learning how to move through the pregnancy loss, but it's also learning kind of life skills on how to actually navigate potential future challenges as well.
That's awesome. It's like it's not just, hey, this is just for this season of your life, but you can actually take the tools that Sharna is going to be bringing to us and into any adversity or any emotional trauma that we might endure moving forward. Is that what I'm hearing? So that it's priceless when you can learn a tool and stick it in your toolbox, and it can be multifaceted for all kinds of things, like a hammer. It could be used for a lot of different things.
Yeah, exactly. And that's exactly what because, you know, I still use the tools that I've created and that I teach in the program in so many different areas of my life. So it's absolutely things that you can take into your day-to-day life and empower yourself in any given moment. Like, it doesn't even have to be a huge life, you know, challenge that you're hit with. It could just be, you know, what someone says to you down the street and you're just like, oh crap, like, how do I process this? So it's tools that, you know, at any, like, big or small, however it plays out. And like you said, you know, you absolutely can be paralyzed after grief and after the experience. So it's also providing a program where the first program where the women can actually access support and start to really rebuild themselves and the confidence in themselves again, to know that they are worthy of healing and to know that they don't have to stay stuck in that pain and in potentially the past, because essentially that's where I see a lot of women getting stuck, is in the past. They are reliving the loss like every day for years on end, and reliving that pain. And it's not a place where you have to stay. The grief obviously comes in stages, but each time, I was actually talking to another coach, and what we were talking about, instead of having, like, picturing the grief as the scale, it's actually a spiral. So a spiral, you go down, you go back up, you go down, you go back up. Each time you grieve, you go down to the bottom. But these programs give you the tools to get yourself back up. And each time you go down, the time that you spend down there is less. And you have a higher vibration within your body to get yourself back up to the top again. you have that growth within you to get yourself back up to the top again. You're not staying down the bottom.
That's right.
Because that you're not designed to stay there, and your experience wasn't given to you to stay there. So it happens. So many things in life. There will be the times where you go down to the bottom.
Yeah.
You will experience grief. You'll experience those intense emotions, but you will have the tools in your tool belt to get yourself back up the top of that spiral again. And that that vibration that you have within your body won't allow you to stay there, because it'll keep bringing you back up.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's acknowledging that, you know, the grief is always going to be there too. So it's having that awareness about the grief and having the tools to get you back up to the top of the spiral. I really liked the idea of the spiral, because people get so caught up on that scale, the grief scale, because they're like, it's like a line, you go up and you're down and you're up and you're down, but there's like these points and you should be here. Like,
yeah, and if you go backwards, you're a failure, right? Because then sometimes you'll have your anger in all the different stages of grief, and sometimes we'll go back to one that sometimes it just pulls us back. It's just it's just part of the process, and we can totally beat ourselves up when that happens. We're supposed to be done with this. We're supposed to be healed. We're supposed to, like, they want us to move on, like, and that doesn't always work that way.
No. So yeah, and I love the idea of the spiral, because with a spiral you go down, but you can go back up.
That's right.
And I think, like you said, it does, you feel like with that the scale, you're just like, well, I shouldn't be going back to the bottom. I should be here. I should stay here. Like, I should be in acceptance, and this is where I stay.
Okay.
But it's not necessarily the case. So the programs that I've created are literally meeting women wherever they are. And the program that I was going to touch on today is one of the newest programs I've actually put together, because it's actually stripping back one of the larger ones to a more sort of easier access for women who might sort of be in that state where they're like, well, I can't really commit maybe to a long-term program, because they might not feel like they're worthy of that type of commitment to themselves.
Oh, so many feel that, like, not worthy for a lot of things to invest in ourselves, right?
Yeah. And, you know, a longer term program might seem a bit daunting for them to say, okay, yeah, I'm worthy for that, and I'm worthy of that for a long period of time. So I was like, well, I really want women to be able to step into their power. I really want women to start to feel what it's like to really be the fullest expression of themselves, and to know what it's like to not have the blocks, and to not feel stuck, and to not have those beliefs of unworthiness, and to not have the fear and anxiety, to have ways to move through all of that, and to not be stuck in the pain and the grief, because it's not, like I said before, it's not a place that you are designed to stay. Especially if you want to live your life. Like, if you've chosen in that moment, oh, this is it, I'm done, I don't have anything to look forward to, this is where I want to stay, then fine. But if you're thinking, you know, you have a life that you want to look forward to, but you just don't know how to get out of where you are, or to move past that block, or to move past that feeling of stuck and irritability, and potentially reacting to things that might be a bit out of character to how you would usually, you know, react or respond to something. It's all part of some like unhealed emotions and unhealed experiences that are still playing out in your body, that are calling for you to address them.
That's right.
So I might just go into I might share my screen we'll see how we go, to show sort of just how essentially the 30-day program is broken down into the weeks. Like it's a 4-week program. And I can sort of talk through that a little bit.
I know what it feels like to live in that pit. Like, how you spiral down is just like, anytime I'd ever kind of come up for air, I would just, grab a really comfy pillow or a pretty shade rug or a picture, and I would just take it all down and I would make myself really cozy in my little pit. Just so that I could stay there just a little longer, even though it was like the most miserable place and loneliest place to be. I just, for some reason, it brought what's that word? Familiarity. Like
familiarity.
Yes.
I can't even say it.
I'll do the front, you do the back. Like, we'll get the word down. Darn English. But it's familiar, and you know that place, and you don't think that there's anything that's going to harm you there, but you're not able to actually step into living your life. And I know that there comes a time in our journey here in this world that when you're in that pit and you're living in that darkness and in that space, you're going to get that stirring in your heart, be like, I am meant for more. I am meant to live, not just exist. And no matter what life is thrown at you, whether it be pregnancy loss or anything that has really brought you down into that pit, you don't have to stay there for long. Like Sharna says, like it's a spiral. You're able to come back up, and with the tools that she's going to share with us, you'll be able to help yourself get back up a lot quicker. We'll find ourselves down there from time to time, even if you get to a certain level of healing. And even as coaches, we can fall into that pit sometimes too, because it's life comes at us. And it's, what is that saying? It's like the University of Hard Knocks. Like, we're constantly learning through all the trials and tribulations that life throws at us, right? So don't beat yourself up if you fall down into the pit, or make yourself comfortable there for a period of time. We've all been there. I most certainly have made myself comfortable in that space for a very long time, until I had to, like, no, I don't want to just exist. I want to live. And I'm sure a lot of you have that same stirring in your heart to live, not just exist. So I'm sorry, I just wanted to.
Yeah, no, it's good. It was a good point to make, because, it's things that I've heard over and over that women have said too. Like, it's easy to stay there because you said it is comfortable there. You know what's going to happen there. Nothing will surprise you there.
Yeah.
But you also won't experience life there. Like, if that's what you really in your heart of hearts want, you won't experience the magic of life there.
That's right.
And a quote came to me when you were saying that. You said, like, you've mastered survival mode. Now it's actually time to live. Like, you will have those moments where you go back into survival mode too. But as you learn the tools to sort of empower yourself, you won't stay in that place for long each time you might go back there. But the initial time that you're there, it's very easy to want to stay there. It takes a lot of courage for a woman to realize that she needs help and to put her hand up and ask for help. So as well as, feeling worthy of that, you have to have that courage, or that inner sort of yearning for something more. And say, you know what, I'm not okay. I actually do want something more for myself. And you might not know what that looks like, and that's okay, because that's why I've designed these programs, because it's going to reconnect you to yourself and to what it actually is that you want. So you don't have to know what it's going to look like, or what your next steps are, or how you can get to a place where you can enjoy life again. You don't have to know that. You just have to put your hand up and say, I need help. And also know that the universe is always on your side. So there will be things that the universe will put in front of you. So if you're coming across this today and you have experienced pregnancy loss, and like it's something that you are wanting to move through, it could be that, you know, you have been asking for support. You just need to open your mind up to how that's going to actually present itself. So there's actually a quote from the movie, I think it's like Evan Almighty or something. I love it. I think it's Evan Almighty. I love it because it's God when he's serving in the restaurant, and his wife, like they were praying for like these times, you know, to spend family time together and stuff like that. But God comes and he says, you know, when people pray, they pray for courage, but God gives you the opportunity to be courageous. He doesn't give you courage. He gives you the opportunity to be courageous.
Yeah, because we get free choice, right? We get to choose that courage as a gift.
Yeah, so you have to choose that. And if you're getting these signs of, you know, you're asking for support, you're not just going to be given what you want. You're going to be given the opportunity to choose what it is that you want to actually take action on.
Yeah.
So
we can't get just run through the fast food lane and be like, I want an A and a B and a C.
Yeah, I'll have that, thanks, in a meal to go.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's not always going to present itself so clean cut like that. So it's the universe, like God, spirit, whoever it is that you believe in, is going to give you the opportunity to actually, you know, show how committed you are to yourself, and to recognize that it is an opportunity for you to receive that support, or for you to act on that courage that you have or that you want to have. You're not just going to get given that one specific thing that you've been praying for. It's going to show up, and you're going to have to recognize it when it shows up, and it will keep showing up until you're like, okay, yep, I got the message. This is what I need to do. So yeah, I've always loved that, I guess, that sort of analogy, because it's like, it's so true. Like, you ask, you know, you might pray that you need patience, but it's going to give you the opportunity to be patient. And it could be that you're in a traffic jam and you're wanting to scream out the window to the car in front of you or the cars beside you, but it's giving you the opportunity to go, okay, you know what, take a deep breath. This is my opportunity to be patient.
I've learned you do not pray for patience. You will be tested everywhere you go.
So it's just, yeah, taking those things that are happening around you, they're not just happening, they're happening because it's what you're bringing into your field. So it's all energy, and it's all the vibrations that you're putting out, and it's how you're thinking, and it's what you actually are manifesting. You are always manifesting.
Yeah.
It's just whether or not you're manifesting what you want or what you don't want.
Yeah, what we think about, we bring about.
Yeah.
So true.
So yeah. So what I wanted to do, so I just a little bit, oh God, I just got like an accent right then. A little bit about what the program is essentially. So, and like I said before, pregnancy loss can be a very disempowering experience. It can be an experience where you feel like everything that you know has been taken, like a rug has been pulled out from underneath you. You're laying on the ground and you're like, what the actual hell is happening? everything that you believed you now think was a lie. The future that you know had planned has all been taken away from you. So what at the base of everything is being able to really be present with your emotions, because like I said before, your body on a cellular level will always remember your trauma. So if you don't process it on a cellular level, it's going to keep presenting itself for you to keep acknowledging it. And if the longer you ignore it, the more it's going to keep giving you nudges. You know, you need to actually, you know, sit up and listen. Okay. And your emotions are one of the things on a really like foundational level to move through, because your emotions are energy, and our whole body is vibrating. Our whole body is energy. It's not, if you actually magnified your, you know, your hand and your skin, you'll find cells. We're literally vibrating energy and vibrating cells, like in a human form. So on a foundational level, being able to acknowledge your emotions and the energy that comes with those emotions, because that is what is going to really help you heal your body as well. Mm-hmm. And really on a cellular level, heal those the energies that come along with that. And like I said to you earlier, there might be times where you're like, yeah, cool, done. Like I've processed my emotions, but your body is always going to give you layers to that healing process. So I always like to think of it like an onion. And an onion has multiple layers, but
each one will make you cry.
And makes you cry. Yeah. So like on both of those, like you will have to probably cry to be able to process what it is that's going on inside of you. And each time you peel off a layer, each time you might cry, but that's okay. And like I said to you before, I think I thought I was fine. It was years since, you know, my loss, and I was like, yeah, cool. I've acknowledged my emotions. And then I went to a coaching program and cried like the first few sessions, because I was like, oh my gosh, there's still so much that my body needed to process. Right. So it could be that you've just experienced your loss, or it could be years down the track. Coming back to this place where we can process those emotions and really give them space is what's going to be foundational in moving forward, in being able to heal your experience and heal your story, as well as healing your body. Because being able to embrace your story too is one of the key things, and not actually running away from it. So and I think the first thing that we have to do is take responsibility for our story and our experience. We have to acknowledge that it happened, and we have to acknowledge that we need help, and we need to take responsibility for that healing. No one else is going to make that decision for you. That's right. And taking responsibility for everything that happens in your life, everything that happens from that point onwards. Like my auntie said to me once, I reacted, I was triggered, and she said to me, well, what's happening with you? And I was so angry at her for saying that. But then what I realized was I needed to take responsibility, because it was a trigger that was already within me. Mm-hmm. That experience, that thing that someone did to me, wasn't to me. It was already something that I had pre-existing. It was already a trigger that I had pre-existing within me. So I had to look inside myself. I had to take that responsibility for myself. So on one level, it's taking responsibility for your healing, and to acknowledge that you do need healing, and to say and put your hand up and say, yes, I need this.
Yeah.
And on the other hand, it is taking responsibility for everything that happens after that too, and knowing that everything that happens, it comes back to us. It comes back to a belief that we may have held. It comes back to emotions that may be unhealed. So also understanding that your triggers are already existing within you. They're already pre-existing, potentially beliefs that you've held about people, about how people should treat you, and understanding that triggers are another layer, another opportunity for you to heal your story. To have that acceptance within your story, to be able to embrace it, and like I said, not run away from any part of your story, to be able to actually acknowledge every part, as painful as they could be, but to know that you can move through that, and you're not actually skipping over parts and not actually facing parts of your story, because that's ignoring part of you.
I actually hid my stuff for a long time because I thought if I buried it, it won't hurt me. Like if I just ignore it and try to hide from it, it won't hurt me. But it had to come out, and when it did, years later, it was extremely painful.
Yeah, and like you said, it might seem like the really perfect thing to do at the time. And it might, take the pain away for that moment, but it's not going to be a long-term solution. It's something that you might get away with for a couple of years or a few years, but it will come back around, and you'll be presented with something that will make you acknowledge, that part. The part you've been running away from.
Like that trauma gets locked into our DNA. When I kind of replay what in that season, when I did lock my trauma away or tried to lock it up, it did manifest in different ways, whether I be snappy, irritable, more easily emotionally triggered. Like there was all those things actually were happening because I wasn't dealing with my own trauma, but I couldn't put the two together until I took a program similar to what you're offering, that brought my healing and acceptance. And that is one of the most powerful things that we can do, is that acceptance piece, because then we're owning our story, because it's part of our journey, and there's nothing to be ashamed of it.
No. And that's the thing, like there's nothing to be ashamed of. Like, everything that happens, I won't go into it in this one, but I've done a lot about soul contracts, and that we choose as hard as what it is to hear, especially if you are in the thick of like a trauma, we choose our experiences in our life before we are even born. We've chosen these things. Some people get given harder challenges and adversities because they want to learn faster. They want to grow their soul faster. Some people
that is a tough one for me to wrap my head around, because I'm like, hell to the no would I choose half the stuff I've been through.
I know, and to be honest, like
sender.
But you actually, it's hard. It is hard to wrap your head around, because then you're like, well, why would I choose that? But it's not that you're choosing the lessons. You're choosing what you want to learn in your lifetime. And the fact that you've gone through your challenges has got you to the point where you're helping people now too. So that was maybe the end goal, and your soul is forever growing. So you get given these challenges because you want to learn something specific from that. I'm like, why would I lose my dad when I was 19? Why would I go through a miscarriage? Like, what the hell? Like, why would I choose that? But it's choosing the lessons and choosing for our different ways for our body to actually grow. But there is so much to that. But in understanding that, it sort of gives you another layer of another perspective to our lives, and to be able to understand and accept ourselves on a deeper level, and to know that what we are going through isn't anything to be ashamed of. And it allowed me to accept myself on a more like holistic level, as a whole woman, like everything that I have been through. But yeah, it's not like you'd be like, yeah, you chose to have a miscarriage. I'm like, well, why would I do that? But in saying that too, their little souls come down for a reason. Their little souls touch our lives for a reason. And I'm actually really grateful for my angel baby, because it changed the trajectory of my life. It actually made me sit up and listen and go, well, you know what? I'm not happy. I'm literally putting myself back into a job that was toxic, like mentally toxic and abusive. I was like, why would I keep doing that? That's right. Like, I'm not happy. Why would I live my life this way just for money? So they come down for a reason too, and they don't stay, unfortunately, and they weren't ever really designed to stay. But it's definitely another level that you'd have to be ready for, to be able to process.
That's right.
But yeah, so another thing that I've noticed, and that's why I bring that into the program as well, is creating some disconfirming experiences, because what women get into is that it's happened once, it'll happen again. And I won't do this thing because it'll happen again. I won't try this thing because this is what happened. And they will stop themselves from actually experiencing their life. So they're creating experiences that are only confirming their fear, their anxiety, their unworthiness, and the fact that they don't get good things happen to them, or they don't deserve good things to happen in their life.
I've even talked to some women, Sharna, I'm sorry to interrupt, but I've talked to some women that have experienced numerous miscarriages, and and they continue to hang on to the hope that they'll eventually be able to go to term and have a blessing in their life. And then I've talked to other women that have experienced one loss, and it's become so catastrophic that they're not even going to try again, because they don't feel worthy, that if I've lost one, then I can never handle the pain of ever losing again. And that's a huge fear. You do have a blessing baby, you call her your rainbow baby. And that mind shift, that the whole thought process of going through that second pregnancy can be extremely daunting if you don't have the right tools in your toolbox, right? Because if you've already experienced loss, you're always going to be in that fear place, if you don't have some good tools in your belt.
Yeah. And that's where I want women to be able to get to, because I have been there, consumed with fear, with wanting to try again. And some women, I'm not saying that all women can get to this point where they won't be consumed with fear. Is definitely you have to, I guess it's a predisposition that with your mindset you'll be able to sort of pick up tools a lot easier to be able to move through your experience a lot easier. Some women might still find that really hard and not something that they can actually do, which is completely fine. But I just want women to know that, the fear is normal, the anxiety is normal, do I try again? Because you don't want to, expose your heart again to that pain. But absolutely working on yourself between that period of time before you try again, that is going to make all of the difference. And being able to process your story and having the tools to be able to move through the fear and the anxiety, because it comes back all the time. It just presents itself in a different way. So it's acknowledging that it is the fear, or it is the anxiety, or it is, you know, whatever it is. Acknowledging why it's coming to you. And it's usually because of a past experience or past conditioning or a belief that you've held. And being able to process that and to make, I guess, reframe it, to understand it, and to be able to go, well, you know what? Every pregnancy is different. Every outcome is going to be different. Unfortunately, there are the women that do go through recurrent losses. And I've heard of women doing, going through like 10 like recurrent losses. Wow. And I'm just like, I don't know how much, like they have just that so much inner strength that their heart can actually take. Right. But it's also then coming to the understanding of like, okay, I've also helped women through not being able to, going through recurrent losses and then deciding to not have children. So helping them then accept that part of their story and to help them connect with a new future that they potentially hadn't even explored before. Because it's not an easy path to go down, especially when you have in your mind, you know, this is what I want to create and I want to have a family, and then it doesn't end up turning out the way that you planned it. So it's then going back to the drawing board. And what I've been able to do is help women reconnect with that, help them process their story, help them really shift what they perceive is a family and how they can move forward with different options, or not even going down at different options of starting a family, and just choosing not to have children at all. So yeah, it can look so different for women, and the journeys are all so different. And some women, like I said, can pick up the tools and be able to implement them a lot easier than others. And it's also not to compare yourself with other people, with other women as well. And I think, you know, because every story, every journey is so different. So, you know, not comparing yourself to how someone else can actually, you know, pick up the tools and implement them as well. That's right. And then, yeah, just creating experiences in your life that create experiences of joy, that create experiences of trust and confidence in yourself, and bring about those things that you actually want to have for yourself, and creating different ways that you can make that happen. So then you start to believe that you are worthy, that you are the person, the woman that you really want to be, and that you aren't defined by your loss. That's right. Yeah, so essentially loss is part of you, but it's not you. You aren't your loss, you aren't your emotions, you aren't what happened to you, and creating a different way that you can view yourself. And then being able to reconnect to that, because you're different and you will be different, and accepting that you're going to be different after loss. Your life will never be the same and you will never be the same. So how can you now accept the person, the woman that you are becoming, and really just being able to help them connect to that and redefine what that means for them.
So good. So good.
I'm sorry, I know we spent like forever on that slide.
It's so good.
Yeah, I mean, essentially, like, there's just so much potential that I see in women and in their stories, and I just want women to know that they can process it, they can move through it, and it can always be a part of their story, and it doesn't have to be the end of their story. So yeah, like I said, it's over a 4-week it's a 4-week program. And I really want to have this time for women to understand that. So this is just going to be a taste of sort of how it can all happen, how it can all unfold. And the first week is essentially, I've designed a model of so structure of experience. So how to, like, what we experience in our day-to-day life. And coming down to pregnancy loss in particular, obviously focusing in on pregnancy loss in this, but it actually is another tool that you can take into your whole life, on how the structure of experience actually works, what the meaning is that you give to them, and how you can sort of rewind what happened. Like, it could have been something that someone said or something someone did in that moment and you reacted, because there's like split seconds between your stimuli and your reaction, but you can be aware of these other steps in between, where the next time it happens, you'll be like, okay, this is what's actually happening. How can I change what this means to me? So it's understanding the 4 steps of the actual experience and how we can rewind that, because you can't change the stimuli, because it's going to be society, it's going to be something like outside of you, but you can change everything else that happens. You can change how you, and in the end, changing how you respond, or how, if it's either responding or reacting.
Right.
So it's really giving you the power back in that moment, on really taking the time for yourself to understand what is that's coming, whether it's emotion, whether it's a belief, whatever it is that's coming to you, how you can go about changing that for yourself and empowering yourself in that moment, rather than giving your power away.
That's right.
So there will be live coaching calls that we go through these tools, and then obviously the homework that they do for that week. But there will also be other people in the group as well that they can communicate with, and be able to, bounce ideas off, and be surrounded by people that actually understand what they're going through, which I think is huge.
Huge.
To have that understanding from other people, because you feel so alone. Like, most of the time you're like, I'm totally making this up. Like, why am I reacting this way?
Yeah.
I seem to be going off the deep end for no reason. Like, what's happening? And then you get around people that actually understand, and you're like, oh yeah, cool. Like,
yeah, I'd be crazy.
Yeah. They do it too. I'm not crazy. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. So good.
Yeah. So essentially week 2 kind of ties into week 1 as well, which is understanding your triggers and how that's actually presenting. And understanding a trigger is already a pre-existing thing within you. So really being able to tap in and understanding what the triggers are, what is being triggered, whether it's a belief or an emotion, and how you can change that again. Like, and then in another time, and hopefully when someone else might say the same thing, you don't get triggered the same way. That's right. But it's also to understand what your, I guess, I don't like to say negative, because it's like, our emotions aren't negative or positive, they're just emotions. Our body just recognizes them as emotions. But I guess the way that you're triggered negatively, and as well as what are the things that trigger your joy as well, and understanding both sides of that, so you can introduce the joy back into your life as well. And so week 3 is just being able to sort of step away from your experience, and being able to see it from a bird's eye view. Because when you can take yourself out of what is actually happening, you can start to see your experience a little bit more clearly, and potentially gain a little bit more sense in a way of how, how it looks from an outsider's perspective, in a way, like taking an observer's seat of your experience, and being able to see it from the outside. Because when you're on the inside, it's hard, it's overwhelming, it can be very consuming and hard to actually make sense of what's going on and see beyond what you're experiencing.
I find that it can easily fall into the victim funnel, whatever you want to call it, that victim trap. If we don't actually use this piece and apply it into our lives, right? Looking above the picture, we can look at things with a different set of eyes, and we can process things differently when we're not consumed by it with that victim mentality.
It's because when you're in it, sometimes something that could seem so huge might be something really little in the big scheme of it, when you can zoom out and you can go, oh, well, hang on a minute, this doesn't actually seem so big out here.
Yeah, it's so true. There was a season where I got pissed off about chicken salad. Like, it's just chicken salad, but I went crazy over it. Like, seriously, if we don't pull ourselves out and take a look in, then just those simple little things that they feel like when you're in it, like you said, they're huge. They can feel like it's the end of the world. It's chicken salad, Stacey. Look up. Right? It's just simple things that we can that molehill into a mountain, right?
And when you can zoom out, it looks like it'll be a molehill again, and it was like, oh, like it's not actually that bad. I can actually process this and I can get through this. Like, it's not this big, massive obstacle that I have to get through.
That's right.
So again, like, it's another tool that you can help yourself through pregnancy loss, but also help yourself through other things that happen in life as well. And that's why I like to think of, like, everything that I've created, they're life skills. Like, they're actually things that I've used to get myself through my healing, but also other areas in my life as well. And they work. Especially that one, because that one can get you get so caught up in what it is that what's happening, and when you can zoom out, you can start to see it a little bit clearer and realize that, well, it may not be as big of a thing as what it feels like.
It's just chicken salad.
It's just chicken salad. Fine. Oh, that's funny. And then week 4 is also then creating those disconfirming experiences. So what experiences, what beliefs have you created for yourself where you're like, well, this is going to happen again. I can't do this because this will happen, or I can't do this because this will happen. And it's, again, just all stuff that you've created because of your past experience. So what are the what are those beliefs that you are constantly reaffirming to yourself that will happen, but you can't control the future? So how do you actually know that it's going to happen? So creating those disconfirming experiences, creating something where you're like, well, you know what, I don't know how that's going to end up. So what I'm choosing to believe is going to be this. This is what I'm going to do then for myself instead. And a lot of the time through my following pregnancy, like you said before, it can be overwhelmingly stressful and filled with anxiety and fear. And I could have easily got stuck in that trap of being in the fear and in the anxiety, but you know, being able to go to change it around, to flip it on its head and acknowledge it and talk to it. Like I was a crazy person talking to my fear as if like the fear was a person, but I was talking to it and saying that I acknowledged, I know I acknowledged the fear. I thanked the fear for coming because essentially it was coming to keep me safe. But I didn't want to go down that. I didn't want to reaffirm that fear for myself that this was going to end the same way. I needed to change it so that I was able to get myself out of that, that state. Because being in the fight or flight place, especially when you're pregnant, is not going to be a really good place to be in. It's not a good place to be in, full stop. But when you're pregnant, it's actually going to increase chemical drops that potentially aren't going to be ideal. And also it might actually prevent you from bonding with the baby through the pregnancy. It might not allow you the space to be grateful for the opportunity that you've got. And then when you actually have your baby and it's healthy, you might struggle to connect with it. So it's really just sort of flipping all of those reaffirming things that you've had on loop in your mind, flipping them on their head and really being able to give everything a different meaning, reframe everything and create different experiences where then you're starting to reaffirm all of the stuff that you are amazing at, and that, you know, your body is magical and your body is capable of doing these amazing things, and your body is capable of carrying a healthy baby, you know, regardless of the outcome. Because again, you can't control the outcome, you can't control how it's all going to end up. So being able to do something in the present moment, which is going to give you again your power back in that moment. And that's the only place that you can really live, is in the present moment. You can't live in the past and you can't live in the future, because that's only going to cause depression and anxiety. So really giving yourself that power in the present moment to go, well, you know what? Yes, okay, this is how the last pregnancy ended. This is what happened. This is why. And talk to that emotion or that belief or whatever that's coming up as a person, like I did, because I had to verbalize it. I had to physically talk to it. I couldn't just say it in my mind. Like I had to say it out loud. So it was actually like I could hear myself.
Yeah.
But creating something new, creating different experiences that actually reaffirm how amazing you are, and that you can control what's happening in the moment, and that you can't control what's going to happen in the future, just because that's potentially what your past has been. So it's giving them then the perfect mindset to be able to look forward with a new connection to themselves, and potentially what maybe entertaining those ideas of how their future might look. But then that's where sort of going into that 3-month program, like following this, would actually go into that deeper. I'll skip through these because we've been talking for so long. But I do like this quote. So releasing the emotional energy and focusing on acceptance dissipates anger and restores balance. And it's not to say dismiss your story. It's not to say dismiss the anger. It's not to say like forget. It's about like acknowledging them and focusing on acceptance. And then the rest kind of just falls away. But I want to just point out, it's not about ignoring what's actually coming up. It's about acknowledging it, accepting it, and then the rest just sort of drops away. And it's restoring that balance back into your body, into your mind and body. Yeah, so just a bit about the statistics, like what we spoke about before, quickly. So 1 in 4 pregnancies end in loss. 1 in 8 will experience infertility. 1 in 100 will experience recurrent losses. So it's still a high statistic about women going through recurrent losses. 1 in 160 births will be still, and that gives me goosebumps still. 47% of women will experience guilt, which, you know, is a huge thing, I think, across the board, which is with what I've known anyway. 24% of women will have a severe or moderate anxiety. I was diagnosed with high functioning anxiety and depression. So I was like, yeah, cool. I'm amazing at living in the past and the future. Cannot not live in the present. Until I started to really look at myself and go inward and start to figure out what it was that I actually needed. And then the present, being able to focus on the present absolutely comes. 50 to 75% of recurrent miscarriages are medically unexplained. And that's the thing too, being able to come to a place of acceptance within your story, even if you never know why. Yeah. A lot of women get hung up on trying to figure out why. And that stops them from wanting to actually to keep going as well. Because they're like, well, I don't know why it happened. I don't know how I can fix it. Yeah. And I'm like, well, you're not broken. But what I can say is getting yourself into the best physical, mental place that you can to be the best vessel that you can for a following pregnancy. Even if you will never understand why it happens, why you keep going through what you go through. But you'll be able to sort of be able to process those experiences a lot better. 29% will experience PTSD, which I know a lot of women who have had experience with that. And 43% of women don't actually tell their friends, like tell people around them. And that's a high statistic of women that go around with that sort of just, they don't say anything. So no one actually knows why they are the way that they are, or either that or they've suppressed that experience, right, so that they can seem normal on the outside.
Right. But like you said, it will still surface.
Yeah. And like you've experienced, it doesn't just go away. So
no. Damn chicken salad.
Yeah. Oh my gosh, chicken salad. And this is what the other programs where I was kind of mentioning. So the 30-day program is where it's like a good access point for women to really have that benefit of transforming their life. But the 3-month program is where we're going to go deeper into all of that and to really focus in on the different elements of like your mind, your body, your spirit, like how all of those different things actually play in together. Even your nutrition in creating the perfect, vessel for yourself, because there's a huge connection between your mind and your gut. So if any one of those is out of balance, it's like they're so connected. You can't sort of have one without the other. So really, if you want to improve yourself on a holistic level, it's not just acknowledging your emotional health. It's acknowledging that your whole body plays a part in that as well. Right. And when you focus on your mind, you have to focus on your body as well. Yeah. So, so we go into a deeper we dive into those. It's essentially it's 3 months, and over the 3 months we go into 3 different pillars of healing. And then also at the end of that, you're coming to a really good place within yourself, confident in who you are as a woman. And it could be that you want to go into this third stage, which is rewriting a story to empower others. So really being in that place where you're like, okay, I now can hold space for other people as well. It doesn't necessarily have to be pregnancy loss, but if it is, then I do have the pregnancy loss practitioner program where I teach you how to actually support and hold space for women, specifically for pregnancy loss. And out of that, you do get a practitioner, like a certificate as well, on completion. So but yeah, it depends. Like if you just want to do the rewriting your story part, it could be that you just want to, help empower other women with the tools and the knowledge that you have learned. And it could be writing a book, or it could be writing a blog, or hosting an app on like what you've got. And it could just be like any way of supporting women.
That's right.
And being able to have the tools to hold space for them.
That's right.
Are you, Mom?
Thank you.
Hi,
So yeah, it's definitely like you said at the beginning, there's different access points for different women in their journey. But obviously the 30-day is an easy access point. You're not sort of overly committed if that is a fear of, maybe not feeling worthy enough to commit for a long period of time. But, if you are in that stage where you're like, yeah, okay, like it's been some time and I feel like I've processed my story a little bit, then definitely investing in that, and we can go deeper into, how, all the different elements of, like I said, emotional, mental, physical, spiritual, and how that looks.
So just out of curiosity, I love the foundational emotional empowerment program that you have. I think it's like 3 stars across the board. 5 stars or 3 stars, 5 stars, however
whatever the biggest amount of stars is.
the big gold one. Okay. It's awesome, that foundational piece, because if we can really get right with our mind and having that bird's eye view and understanding how things are being triggered in our path, then we are set up for a great success in that next piece, where you can go deeper into that healing component, which I'm sure stems off to more than just pregnancy loss. That's all I can say. I'm like, oh my God, what you're bringing is more than just dealing with pregnancy loss, because you really are getting amazing tools to apply to all kinds of different areas of your life if you've experienced trauma and hurt, or just the life of hard knocks, right? But out of curiosity, if somebody has done a lot of their pre-emotional empowerment work already, and they feel like, I'm more geared to, let's just dive into that 3-month program. Is that do they need to take your 30-day program before they can take your the healing, the 3-month program?
No. So if they feel like they're in that space, because essentially the 30-day program is breaking down one pillar of the 30-day, the 3-month program anyway. So if they feel like they have done that part of that healing, and they feel that they don't necessarily need that extra step to go into the 3-month program, then just jumping straight into that is completely fine, because we touch on elements and those tools within that as well anyway. So they still will get access to that, but like I said, there'll just be those added extra elements of healing where over those following 2 months. So yeah, if they're in a really good place, or they feel like they've done some of the groundwork, just jumping into that 3-month is completely fine. And we just will start to sort of deep dive right from the start, and not have that 30-day as like a warm-up type thing. I created the 30-day program because women, I just felt like they needed maybe an understanding of themselves on a little bit deeper level, so that it allows them to see their potential, and that they can actually heal and start to process their experience before they jumped into the 3-month program. So yes, essentially why I created that 30 days, so that it is that little warm up into the 3 months.
Foundational, because we really
Yeah.
have that acceptance, the understanding, the bird's eye view, knowing what your triggers are, until you have all those foundational pieces. Going any further is just going to be like Charlie Brown's teacher. It ain't going to be effective, right?
Yeah.
Like you need that foundation in order to be able to have the next level, bring that healing of rectify, all the depth, because going into understanding how our mind works with our gut, you'll already have that whole foundational piece of understanding how you tick, and knowing, and then now learning this next piece of the holistic healing. It will be way easier for you to apply and to grow from.
Yeah, they'll be in a much better mindset to be able to accept in all of that information and start implementing it into their day-to-day life. Whereas if they're still in that place where they're like, I really just want to change, but I don't know how, they might still be in the thick of grief a little bit. So the 30-day would be, it's perfect for that, really that taste of how they can start to really build on their foundations of their healing. I like to think of, like, say, the 30 days is like building, it's like building a house. It's laying the concrete, and then when you go into the 3-month program, it's building the walls and putting the roof over the top. So it's really creating that strong foundation, but also creating the sturdy walls and the roof that you need to have that safety, and to have that sort of like, I don't know, a sense of accomplishment within yourself, I guess, like, I've done it.
Yeah, the security, right? That's what a home brings to us, is that security.
Yeah. And then to move into, the next, whether it's a practitioner program or just, being able to rewrite your story, might be adding the furniture in and just creating more of a home, like to be able to bring people in and help and create that beautiful environment to help people through what it is they're going through.
Oh, that's so good. I love that.
Yeah.
that is so good. Well, this has been absolute. Did you have more? I'm sorry.
No, that's good. There is more, but we could be here all day.
I love chatting with you. You're such a gem. But this has been absolutely wonderful. And I really love this program, this 30-day program that and I think that like you said, it's you wanted to bring a foundational piece for people if they weren't ready or to commit to that longer term program. This really does give you the foundation of coming to terms with your loss and understanding all the things that are happening around you, whether you recognize it to be because of your loss or not. It's not about the chicken salad, right? It's just, but you wouldn't know that in the moment unless you can actually have these tools and understand how to look, step outside of yourself and look in. And see where all your triggers are. So I absolutely love how you felt called to make this foundational program, because I think it is a fabulous stepping stone for people. So how do they, if they want to jump into it, how do they get in touch with you? How do they register? All the things. Hi, pretty lady.
Sorry, she's found bonbons. So I actually, if they want to reach out from here, I'll be offering a free call as well. So they can get in touch with me from here, either
You're being
through,
the app, right? Is that what you're referencing?
you can contact me, yes, in the app, because
Perfect.
I'm in here. I'm in the app, but
Can we stop sharing the screen so we can see your
oh yeah, sorry.
It's all good. There we go.
Oh, thank you, Wilma. So yeah, they can contact me in here, and just if they want to quote, they can quote, Poppy, Mummy's talking. Sorry.
We do life around here. That's just what we do. It's all good.
They can quote just like empowerment if they want to just text me, and what I'll do is just send them a free call, so a link to a free call, so that we can actually go through where they're at, potentially what would suit them in terms of their healing, where they kind of feel that they are and what they feel like they want or they need. So I'm happy to do that, and to give them the time and the space to be able to really just, you know, put their hand up and say, I need help, and this is their first step to getting that. So yeah, so can message me within here, and we can sort that out.
Send her the word empowerment, and she'll hook you up with a free conversation, free coaching session, just to be able to dig in and see what level of program or support that you need in your healing journey. So this has been absolutely wonderful. Hi, pretty lady. Again, I keep your mom on here way too long. I'm so sorry.
That's all right. Nana's had to go, so she's a bit sad.
Oh, she'll be back soon, right?
It's okay. She will be, actually.
She's gonna go. Did she go to get you some more bonbons?
She just
chocolate.
she's going. No, she's actually got to go to a wedding. So
Okay.
but she's found the stones, the crystals. So
okay, well, before those get dethroned. Thank you, Sharna. I very much appreciate you coming and sharing. And again, just reach out, send Sharna a message of empowerment, and she'll hook you up with a free call to explore further. All right.
Yes. Yeah, perfect. Thank you so much.
Cheers.